It's the Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
If I fell asleep in a family meeting, what would you say to me?
I would be very upset at you.
I would get the third degree and the subsequent degrees after that as well.
Because I feel like you don't listen to what I say.
Oh my goodness, sorry, what was that?
And now here's the stars of our show, my mum and dad.
Hello, this is Dr. Justin Coulson, the founder of happyfamilies.com.au and the parenting expert and co-host of Channel 9's Parental Guidance. I knew I'd get there eventually. I'm here with Kylie, my wife and mum, who is looking at me strangely and also going through my wallet as we speak.
Well, you've been holding out on me. You've actually got some cash in here.
That cash has probably been there for about the last, 2.5 years. Who uses cash? Actually, I paid for something the other day with cash in a store. I'd been out for lunch while I was on one of my trips, and I paid with a $50 note. And what was so funny is as I was handing the $50 note over, the lady behind the counter lifted up the little machine that you tap your card on the top of, or you tap your phone on the top of. She lifted it up and asked me to tap my $50 note on top of the machine. She was like, "Oh, hang on, what is that? That's odd. I haven't seen that for a long time. Cash."
I don't usually have cash either, but since...
Would you like some of mine? I'm not using it.
Oh, you're going to give it to me, are you? I won't say no. Well, as part of our big downsize moving to the coast, I've been doing a whole heap of selling on Marketplace. You know, things for $30, $50.
Yeah.
And the other day, somebody came and brought one of the last items that I had posted, and I realised that my wallet felt much fatter than normal.
Oh, listen to you, Mrs. I've got a fat wallet.
Well, I don't even care where my wallet is because there's nothing in it of significance. And I kind of put the money in, and then I went out to an event that night and realised that my wallet wasn't in my handbag. So then I started to panic because I remembered the feeling of this fat wallet, but I didn't know where it was. Anyway, I had put it in a different bag by accident, and when I came home, I did a quick count, and I couldn't believe how quickly $30 and $50 adds up.
Yeah, you get a little bit, and you add another little bit to it, and pretty soon it adds up to a lot. We've unloaded a lot of furniture.
We have.
It's been really nice. But what are you going to do with all the cash?
Oh, I've got a pretty good hidey hole.
Yeah, but that's my point. Like, what are you going to do with the cash?
It's my stash. When I want something, I don't have to ask you for it.
Nobody uses cash. What's the point of having cash? Like I said, I reckon I've had that in my wallet for a couple of years. Didn't even know it was there. Anyway, we're not here to talk about... Listen to us. I've got money in my wallet. But we don't use it. Money. My point is, though, we don't use cash. That's not what today's conversation is about, though. Every Friday we talk about the things that we've learned about parenting during the week. And this week, Mrs. Happy Families, what have you learned? Have you succeeded or failed? Is your parenting going to be better because of your insights into parenting this week?
Well, based on the week we've had this week...
Right.
I think I know what you're going to share.
Oh, really?
And as a result, I think you actually need to go first.
Fine, if you say so.
Well, it sets up my story.
Okay, well, let's hope that I'm going to say what I think, what you think I'm going to say. So we have really been slack over the last couple of months with the whole house move and me travelling and blah, blah, blah.
Well, I don't think it's been slack. I think it's just the reality that life gets in the way sometimes.
But we have a really good system of how we run our family. And when we practice that system, when we run that system, our family thrives, flourishes. We work well together, and it hasn't been happening for some time. Like not just a week or two. It hasn't been happening for quite a while. And this Sunday just gone, I called out to everyone after we had lunch and said, "Guys, everyone in the living room, we're going to have our first family meeting in months. We need to get back on track." And so everyone dutifully moped their way.
You could really tell they were out of...
The level of enthusiasm was approximately 0 out of 10. But they all came into the living room anyway, yourself included. We sat down on the couch. I sat down on the carpet in front of everybody and said, "All right, guys, it's time for a family meeting. You know how this works." And I just double-checked by asking one of the kids, what are the 3 questions that we need to answer to make sure this family meeting goes well and that our family's on track? And that child looked at me dutifully and said, "What went well? What didn't? What are we going to do about it?" I said, "Okay, great. So we know how this works. Let's just dive straight in. What went well this week?" And by the time we got to the end of the what went well, which was only about
crickets?
3 things.
There were crickets.
Well, yeah, it was pretty quiet. But by the time we got to the end of it and we had the 2 or 3 things on the list for what's been going well, I noticed that in one particular corner of the room, things were very quiet. That happens to be the corner that you were in, Mrs. Happy Families. And I wonder if you would tell our wonderful Happy Families audience why things were so quiet in your corner of the living room in the comfy seat of the lounge, as I was asking everybody to participate fully in this really important family meeting. Would you mind, Mrs. Coulson, explaining why things were so quiet in your corner?
Let's just say after a few therapy sessions, I can say this with fun, but I may have fallen asleep.
You may have, let me say that again, fallen asleep in the first family meeting that we've had in how many months?
In my defense.
No,
in my defense.
This is indefensible.
We had friends over for dinner on Friday night.
This is now Sunday. This is 1.5 days later.
Yes, and I have not stayed up that late for a very long time, and I was still recovering. And I was doing. You know what? This reminds me of the Billy Joel concert that we went to.
That you fell asleep at a Billy Joel concert.
I know, but Billy Joel was extreme because I was sitting upright on the couch. I was kind of lounging.
I'm going to just.
We've got the chase.
I'm just going to highlight our family meetings are not as good as a Billy Joel concert. The other thing that I want to highlight.
But see, you shouldn't feel bad because I still fell asleep in Billy Joel.
Right, that's so reassuring. The issue, of course, with the late night on Friday is that once you get past about the age of 35, anything that's later than 9:30 at night is a big night and it takes you 2 days to recover. We were up until 11 o'clock with these friends.
I don't know if you noticed, I was fighting it. You'd say my name and I would open my eyes because I really was trying. But it lasted about, I think, a second and then they closed again.
It was horrendous.
It was completely involuntary.
Now, if I fell asleep in a family meeting, what would you say to me?
Oh, I would be very upset at you.
I would get the 3rd degree.
But that has more to do with my issues.
And then the 4th and the 5th and the 6th degree and the subsequent degrees after that as well.
Because I feel like you don't listen to what I say.
Oh, come on. Oh, my goodness. Sorry, what was that? So here's the thing. We're having a family meeting, and it was a great family meeting. The kids became fully involved.
Tell me about it.
The family meeting should take 10 minutes, but they got so involved.
Well, if it had taken 10 minutes, I wouldn't have fallen asleep.
You absolutely would have. You were gone after about 4. But we talked about what went well. It was a short list. We talked about what's not going so well. It was a long list, and the kids all owned their stuff. Like they said, yeah, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. And it was really, really, really strong.
So you can say whatever you want now because I'm not here to corroborate your...
It was a great family meeting. That's all I'm saying. It was a great meeting. And then I said, so girls, you know this, we can only really work on 1 or 2 things at a time. If we try to work on all these things this week, it's going to fail miserably. So what do we work on? And what they identified was that most of the things that were on the list
I can tell you.
Were all related.
I can tell you. They were all related to routine. See, I wasn't that much asleep. I know that much.
Maybe you've just had conversations with the children since Sunday. It has been 5 days. I thought so. So routine. So we just decided we're going to work on the routine. And the one thing that really stood out more than anything in terms of making the routine work is that our morning begins...
the night before.
So they all committed to make sure that every night after dinner, we're all contributing to not just cleaning up the kitchen, but cleaning up the bedrooms, cleaning up the living rooms, getting things in order, getting school bags organised, uniforms organised, school shoes organised, the whole kit and caboodle. And I'm going to say that one conversation has led to a massive improvement. It's still not perfect and things have not gone as smoothly as they could because we're a bit out of practice with the routine. But overall, it's been a positive week. And the meeting was the instigator of that. So for I'll Do Better Tomorrow, I'm claiming it as a win, although I don't know what you're going to claim it as, but we're doing better. We're doing better because we had the family meeting. We talked about what worked, what didn't work, and what we can do better tomorrow. Because it went so well, sort of, we're going to record our next family meeting this Sunday and turn it into a podcast sometime in the next couple of weeks. We'll have to do a lot of editing on it because you don't want to hear most of what goes on. But we want to show you how the family meeting works because a lot of people just sort of say, yeah, what do you do? I don't get it. It's not making sense. So we want to turn that into a podcast and show you how our family meetings operate. Mrs. Happy Families, that is my I'll Do Better Tomorrow. I kind of should stop now. I feel like I'm starting to rub it in a little bit. I know that you were tired.
Well, after the break, we'll find out what mine is.
The 21st century is a tricky time to be a teen girl. Alcohol, drugs, mental health concerns, body image issues, technology, sex. Our daughters face all these and more. The Happy Families Misconnection Summit brings together the best modern-day experts on teen girls to show you how to stay connected with your daughter and help her face these challenges head-on. Available online via video at the Happy Families webshop.
It's the Happy Families podcast, the podcast for the time poor parent who just wants answers now.
How'd you go?
Look, it's been actually a bit of a rough week, in spite of the fact that you set things up beautifully with your meeting without me.
See, if you had been awake, it probably would have been a much better week.
Well, I'm going to suggest if you had have actually been home, that the rest of the week would have run better.
That's harsh. Okay.
Okay, so it's just a really little anecdote. I had an experience with Miss 8 the other night, and like I said, the week wasn't fantastic, but just this little moment with her where she saw me doing making up some little handouts. I do some volunteering work at church, and so do the people that I look after. And from time to time, I just really like to let them know that I appreciate their efforts, because we're all giving up our time for nothing. And Emily walked over to me and she said, "Mum, I want to be like you when I grow up." And I said, "How come?" She said, "Because you have a beautiful heart."
Oh, that is the best.
And when you have pretty ordinary weeks, having just a little moment like that just sent it through the stratosphere into this just remembrance that, in spite of the fact that things do not always go to plan, that there are little people watching and they know the intents of our hearts, and to have that little moment with Emily this week has just made it all worthwhile.
Well, I think anyone who knows you would agree that you have a beautiful heart. That's probably why all the emails that come through to Happy Families, podcasts at happyfamilies.com.au, talk about how great you are.
Even if I fall asleep.
Nobody ever mentions me. Still sore about that. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is our executive producer. If you've enjoyed the Happy Families podcast, will you jump onto Apple Podcasts? It takes about 30 seconds to leave a rating and review. Please do it, because it helps other people to find out about the podcast, to make their family happier. Have a great weekend. If you want more info about making your family happy, you can find it all at happyfamilies.com.au.